Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to this top 5 units video. In this episode we'll take a look at Space Marines, so I'm going to pick out the 5 top units in my opinion that should be in your army. Now there's lots of different ideas as to what units are the best, so this is going to be my own personal opinion. You can leave your own comments and suggestions in the comments section below. You can change the order of the units that I present, or you can swap them out and bring in other units that you think should be in the top 5. So there's an element of units that I like and personal preference, but sort of the main reason is their usefulness in games and their competitiveness as well. I'll show you some of the tweaks and enhancements that you can do to get the most out of these units as well. So that's the idea of this episode, is to give you an idea of what are the best units to take for your own Space Marines army, and hopefully it can help you as you expand your own army or start building your own lists for a Space Marine force. Obviously going to focus on stuff from here. There's different codex supplements which I hope to make separate videos for as well, but just for regular standard Space Marines we'll take a look at the top 5 units for them. So for these units, I've actually got 6. I'll go for the top 5, but there's an honourable mention to one unit as well which almost made it in, but for Space Marines there's so many units to choose from now, tons of HQ choices, unnamed characters which you can customise as well, loads of different units, tons of vehicles, there's loads of releases, and plus there's going to be more on the way no doubt as Games Workshop expand on their Primaries Space Marines range. But I'll give an honourable mention here, and that is Blade Guard Veterans. Here they don't make the top 5, but I'll mention them here. Decent unit. They've now got 3 wounds each, 3 attacks base. Remember, Space Marines on the charge get an extra attack as well. You've got the Sergeant with an extra attack as well, 4 attacks base for him. Solid unit, damage 2, mastercrafted power swords with +1 strength, brilliant close combat weapon for a standard, like a regular Marine here, regular veteran. Then you've got the 4+ invuln save with the storm shield, and then +1 to the armor save and throws as well, so like a 2-up armor save as well with the bonus from the shield. Now I haven't seen them, the reason why they're not in the top 5, I've seen them in a number of games. Tom has them in his army. They've done okay, but it seems that delivering them across the battlefield can be an issue. If you're going to move them around quick around the board, you need some kind of transport vehicle to move them about, and you've got to pay points for that. And then once they are on the ground, you're just moving around as regular infantry, so 6-inch move with those. So it can be an issue where there's multiple turns without really doing very much at all, which can be a problem. Then also there's the issue of smaller units, like a regular unit of 3. Just can tend to get overwhelmed or picked off with firepower, and you drop down to 1 or 2 models and they're not that effective. So those are sort of the things that sort of kept them out of the top 5 for me. But beautiful models, decent enough rules, but sometimes a struggle to get them in action, and therefore they struggle to redeem the points that are spent on them. If you disagree, leave it in the comment section, and it'd be interesting to hear about the most effective way that you've found to use Blade Guard Veterans, but for that reason they're sitting at number 6 here. So we'll move on to our list now. Number 5 next. So for number 5, you might be surprised, but there's a couple of, this is a tactical choice here, as opposed to a unit that's going to kill everything. This is a unit that you can use tactically in your games. So troops choice, and there's one rule that's sealed the deal on these, it's Infiltrators. So your standard sort of Primaris type unit, counting as troops here, but different to your regular intercessor squads here. So this is a Phobos unit, so you can use them differently here, you've got concealed positions with these. So there's a big tactical element going on with these. It's the ability to infiltrate them in on the battlefield. Yeah, so they get concealed positions. Because when you're trying to build an army, yes, you need units that are going to overwhelm the enemy force with firepower or close combat, but you also need to bear in mind your overall mission and trying to score secondaries, holding down primary objectives and so on. So it's often a good idea to have a small section of your army that just goes out and harvests victory points, either by controlling objectives, fulfilling secondaries and so on. Infiltrators have found from the rules here seem to be a good option to go for. So you've got concealed positions with them as standard. So during deployment, you set up this unit. If every mod on this unit has this ability, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that's more than 9 inches away from any enemy deployment zone and enemy models. So during deployment, you can immediately set them up somewhere on the battlefield, like in no man's land, holding on to objective, getting ready to fulfill a secondary, and so on with those. So that immediately is an excellent rule for them. They're also troops, so very useful when trying to hold on to objectives. The marksman carbine, it's okay. You're not really taking them for the ability of their firepower, but standard general Primaries Space Marine rules. Tough enough, 2 wounds, 2 attack space. The carbine, it's okay. It's not too bad. But the main reason for taking these is their sort of tactical element. So there's that rule, which is great. But then you have Omniscramblers here. Enemy units that set up on the battlefield as reinforcements cannot set up within 12 inches of this unit. So there's 2 things you can do with them with this rule. The first thing is it will protect them from getting ambushed by deep striking units, and then the other reason is the other way you can use them is to protect other units that you have. So you've got a battle line that's mostly firepower. You don't want enemy units turning up by deep strike and interrupting that firepower, so you can keep infiltrators nearby, and that'll force the opponent to deploy over 12 inches away. So 2 major rules there with the infiltrators: their ability to deploy in no man's land somewhere around that area of the board, and then the other reason is Omniscramblers here, forcing the opponent to keep deep strikers away from them, which can protect them, and then it can also protect other units as well. So tactical choice here. This isn't a unit that's going to go and wipe out other targets and so on. I'm not expecting to overwhelm other targets with firepower, but that little element of your army that's there for tactical roles during the game, holding on to objectives. They may never fire a shot during the battle, but you've tucked them away on an objective somewhere, or they're out fulfilling secondaries and performing actions and so on, then that's their role, and they can harvest you a nice lot of victory points, which can then help you on to victory. It's also worth mentioning there's a stratagem here, guerrilla tactics. Use a stratagem in your movement phase, and a phobos unit from your army is more than 6 inches from any enemy models is selected to move. If the mission you're playing is using the strategic reserves rule, place the unit into strategic reserves. Just remove them from the board. Don't even need to be near an edge. They can just disappear off the table. Again, very, very useful indeed. So very flexible. You can deploy deeper into the board. You can block deep strikers coming in, and then you can, for a command point, you can remove them from the board and then bring them back on later on as well. So if they work hard during the game, they can harvest a nice lot of victory points. There's different ways of where units can be effective. Firepower, close combat, but also a tactical role. It's worth giving a spot here to a tactical unit. So that's number 5. So we're going. Number 1 is going to be the top unit that I recommend. Next is going to be number 4, so working our way up the list, and it's going to be a unit that's entirely different to these. It's Aggressors. Now they sort of come into favour when they first came out, then they've fallen away a little bit, not as popular, and then sort of coming back a little bit. I'm still a big fan of these, love the models. I'm hoping to get units of these painted up. I have some already for the Red Scorpions from Siege Studios, and then hoping to get some of these painted up for Imperial Fists. There's one just there. They look absolutely fantastic painted for Imperial Fists. So very much looking forward to getting those in the list. So with Aggressors then, they're Elite's choice. They are quite expensive in points. You're looking at around about 300 points or so for a unit of 6, so they are a fair amount. But you're getting some very tough models for that, and multiple functions going on with these. So you've got the Gravis armour going on here. It's toughness 5, which is very, very useful. That strength 4 weaponry is going to need 5s to win instead of 4s. 3 wounds each as well. So all that damage to weaponry is not going to glide through them as easily. There's 3 wounds to try and get through as well. Base of 3 attacks, which is very good. Sergeants get an extra attack there as well. 3 up armor save, but what you've got is a model that's pretty resilient. There's two reasons to take these. First is firepower, and then second, which is a nice bonus, is their ability to fight well enough in close combat also. So some say take units of 5 just to restrict the effect that blast has on them. I think I'll go for units of 6, the larger size unit. A good combination. Well, there's multiple things you can do to enhance them. You can have characters, captains, chaplains nearby. An apothecary, very, very useful for resurrecting models and giving them a 6+ feel no pain as well. So those are all supporting characters and HQs and so on that can give them some decent buffs and bonuses. But as standard, as I would take the Flamestorm Gauntlet for shooting, range 18. So you're looking to try and use these aggressively, and they're called Aggressors. You're looking to use them aggressively and push them up the table. I would try and deploy them in the centre of my line, use them as a good blocking unit, push them up aggressively, keep characters behind them, have other units supporting them as well, sort of drive through the middle of the board, blanket of firepower, and then if the opportunity comes up, happily charge them into close combat against any target. Lots of attacks and high strength as well. So your Flamestorm Gauntlets, I guess not as popular now because of the changes to the rules for Overwatch. It's now a strategy, you only get to do it once, but it still could be effective enough. Range 12, you can take the Flamestorm Gauntlets. As I take the Auto Bolt Storm Gauntlets, just get extra range. 3 shots, and you're taking 2 of them, so it's 6 shots per model. Strength 4, AP 0, but you can get a little bit of AP minus going on if you're in Tactical Doctrine, for example, and then damage 1. So useful for clearing away screens. Or just putting a lot of DACA into enemy targets. Then the Auto Bolt Storm Gauntlet has a bit more firepower actually. You can add Fragstorm grenade launchers on top, so range 18 again. Assault D6, strength 4 -1, 1 damage, and then blast. So you know that D6 shot. So if you're up against a larger horde type unit, it's going to be a guaranteed 3 or 6 shots if it's a bigger unit. Now if you've got 6 of those, that's an extra 36 shots being added onto your total, so you can chuck out a ton of firepower, and then really to get the most out of that you need buffs and bonuses going on. So Captain rerolling 1s, or indeed Chapter Master rerolling hit rolls, very, very useful indeed. The Chaplain's ability to grant +1 to the wound rolls, very, very useful. Storm of Fire Warlord trait 6s popping an extra AP -1, very helpful. And then Tactical Doctrine, the extra AP -1 on top of that, just to enhance the firepower they can provide. But a ton of shooting attacks available from these. But really, they've made it into the top 5 because it's not just firepower, not just toughness, but also their ability to fight in close combat as well. Now, the downside is, I've seen it in a lot of games, they attract a lot of attention. So they do get shot to pieces. So like an apothecary, very, very useful trying to get models resurrected and the feel no pain, just trying to keep them alive for as long as possible, but it's quite hard to keep them at full strength. They do become a bit of a bullet magnet. The opponent sees the threat of them and so often targets them quite early on. So maybe it might be an idea to try and keep them sheltered for a couple of turns, or manoeuvre them carefully where the opponent can't bring a lot of firepower to bear against them. So close combat then, it's just Power Fist really. Auto Bolt Storm Gauntlet, it is -1 to the hit rolls, so again any buffs and bonuses going on would be very, very useful. But ×2 strength, so strength 8, -3, 2 damage, so going to cut through armour. That damage 2 will be very useful against any type of infantry, vehicles, very, very useful. And 3 attacks base, 4 on the charge, nice lot of attacks available from the Aggressors as well. Fantastic looking unit, great concept. Just love the way they look. Great unit to put in the heart of your army, the core of your army. Push it up the middle of the board. It's a core choice as well, so you've got the different stratagems available there, and buffs coming from captains and so on that can help them out. So that's Aggressors taking the 4th slot. Maybe you disagree, maybe you think Aggressors are no good anymore, then by all means, it doesn't have to be positive comments. You can disagree as much as you want. Leave that in the comment section, or maybe you're a big fan of Aggressors. then by all means leave that in the comments section as well. So it'd be interesting to hear what other Space Marine players have to say. And if you're a competitive Space Marine player and you're playing in tournaments and so on, then it'd be interesting to hear your comments on these choices as well. So that's number 4. So we'll move on to number 3. Starting to get towards the top of our list now. It's another Elite's choice. It's the Redemptor Dreadnought here. Vehicles having a tough time in 40k at the moment. The damage and efficiency of weaponry is going up, especially against vehicles. D6 damage is turning into D3 plus 3, so that kind of reliable damage coming through is really causing trouble for vehicles at the moment. But I've put the Redemptor Dreadnought in here. It's vastly improved to what it was, and great looking model, big size of a thing on the battlefield. There's a lot of good reasons for taking this as an option. So it is a damage bracket. It's movement 8, so it steps a bit quicker than regular Space Marine Dreadnoughts with movement 6. So a little bit of extra movement on this thing. Its weapon skill, its movement, weapon skill, and ballistic skill is affected. So if it starts taking damage, then there's that to bear in mind. But there's not much you can do. It's the way vehicles work at the moment. Toughness 7 and 13 wounds. So there's, whereas usual regular Dreadnoughts less wounds than the tank, this thing's got more than your standard tank. So a good number of wounds here on this thing. 4 attacks as base. Remember the extra attack on the charge. You can fight well enough in close combat. With the Redemptor Fist that's been improved, there's no minus to the hit rolls. It's times 2 strength, so strength 14, AP minus 3, which is fantastic, and then D3 plus 3 damage, so very reliable damage coming through. This, if it hits well, this thing will cause a lot of trouble against any target, but especially it's going to cause trouble for targets like vehicles and characters as well. If this thing gets stuck in against a character, it's going to cause big trouble, a lot of trouble, because that D3 plus 3 is very dangerous for characters indeed. So it can stand up for itself in close combat, and I guess that gives it the edge against other vehicles. That's the advantage of Dreadnoughts. You take a standard tank, it's got its firepower, but it's useless in close combat. Dreadnought, on the other hand, firepower on this thing's pretty good, and then definitely has the ability to fight in close combat as well. So multiple weapons on this, really mixed opinion on what to go for. Depends on what you want it for. If there is a lack of heavy firepower, then take the Macro Plasma Incinerator. Decent range on that thing, range 36. Heavy D6, I guess that's the downside of it, but it is blast, and so that makes up for the randomness of D6 there. So you're firing against targets with enough models, you're going to get guaranteed 3 or more shots, or if the target's big enough, then it guarantees 6 shots, which makes it quite scary. So really a decent target would be heavier infantry, with multiple models, to make sure you get that nice lot of shots. Strength 8, minus 4, and damage 2 as standard, and then any ones to roll multiple wounds, you can up it to supercharge. Strength 9, which is nice against toughness 8 vehicles and so on, minus 4, and you get extra damage on it, so damage 3 coming through on that. So decent firepower with that one. If you don't need, if you've got other units in your army that are pretty good on heavy firepower and you've got that taken care of with other units, then you might want to go for anti-infantry on it, in which case you take the Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon, 12 shots with that, range 30, which is still pretty good, strength 6, minus 1, and 1 damage, so that's an option as well. So you get 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, so 2d6 shots at range 18, and blast as well. So you can really equip it to kick out a ton of shots against hordes. Just a blistering amount of firepower. That's 24 shots there straight away against a horde target if you take the Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon. Heavy Flamer, Heavy Onslaught Gatling Cannon, and Redemptor Fist. You can take the Icarus Rocket Pod if it's worth it. It's still heavy D3. It's a weapon that's never really been that impressive. It's a bit of a shame, but it's sort of a weapon that's sort of stuck in the middle. It's not a great light weapon, not very good as a heavy weapon, so it's sort of stuck in between the two. The heavy flamer can be replaced with an onslaught Gatling cannon. That'll give you another 8 shots at strength 5 and -1. So, well over 30 shots there. And decent enough strength, so really good against light infantry. And then the 2 Fragstorm grenade launchers, you can go for Storm Bolters if you wish, but I think the Fragstorms are a better option to go for. So, decent firepower, either Decker, or you can go a combo of Decker and then a bit of heavy as well. At the moment I prefer the heavy plasma, or the macro plasma incinerator, for the 2 armies that I'm putting together at the moment, Imperial Fists and also Red Scorpions, Primaries Space Marines as well. So, what got it into the list, which gives it a little bit of an edge compared to other vehicles, is Duty Eternal. So each time an attack is allocated to this model, subtract 1 for the damage characteristic of that attack to a minimum of once. Damage 2, for example, just all those damage 2 wounds come through, dropping down to damage 1. So it can make a big difference, that Duty Eternal. I've seen it in a lot of games. It really does help the Dreadnought out. So you've got -1 damage with 13 wounds, just makes this a bit more of a durable vehicle on the battlefield. Decent firepower, quick enough compared to other Dreadnoughts, and then it can stand up for itself in close combat. It can actually be quite dangerous in close combat as well. So the Redemptor Dreadnought makes it in at number 3. Seems to be one of the more popular vehicle options at the moment amongst Space Marine players. Great model, brilliant concept as well from Games Workshop. Okay, so we have covered an honourable mention to the Blade Guard Veterans, then Infiltrators as a tactical choice, then Aggressors, a sort of a core unit in the middle of your battlefield that can give some decent short-range firepower and then fighting close combat. But they're much better if they can get some help from characters and buffs and bonuses and so on. Then you've got the Redemptor Dreadnought here, one of the better vehicle options for the Space Marines. So number 2 here is an HQ choice, which I hope to add to my new Imperial Fist army. So if you're on the Plus channel, I cover a lot of the detail of this model on the new list that's been proposed. It's the Primaries Chaplain on bike here for the Primaries Space Marines. The model is utterly incredible. Beautiful, beautiful model from Games Workshop. Fantastic sculpt, concept, the paint job, just very, very cool. Beautiful model, so very, very much looking forward to adding him in. Plan to put him into my Primaries Space Marines list here. I've got a few combinations where, you know, he's an unnamed character, so you can start stacking abilities on top to customize him and make him as more effective for what you want him to do on the battlefield. But for my Primaries Chaplain, I want him to obviously help other units as much as possible in certain ways, and also you're going to try and enhance the Chaplain himself to make him quite effective in close combat. Because my Imperial Fist, I'm going for a lot of DACA, a lot of firepower in the list. I need some kind of help in close combat, so one of the units to help out will actually be a potent HQ choice in the form of this Chaplain. So I'll show you, we'll go through the basic rules here and then start stacking on all the bonuses to get the most out of him. And the great thing about the bonuses, apart from one of them, is a lot of the bonuses can be added on. They don't cost you anything in points. It's like wardle traits, relics and so on that could be stacked up. You're not paying any points for that to make him better. So your standard Primaries Chaplain, first thing is speed here, 14-inch move. So for 9th edition, speed is crucial, so you've got a model that can move very quickly around the board. I think he has turbo boost. Yeah, if you decide to advance, you get guaranteed 6 inches. So you've got a 20-inch move available from this model. Weapon skill 2+. So immediately there's an incentive there to try and make him decent in close combat. Nice and reliable with his hitting ability in close combat. Ballistic skill 3+. Strength 4, toughness 5, and this is one of the great things here, Primaris on the bike. 7 wounds. Loads of wounds here, so nice and durable. 4 attack space, which is okay. 5 would have been great, but 4's alright. Strength, leadership 9, and then a 3-up. Armour save. Great thing about characters is you can bury him behind units, try and protect him that way to stop the opponent from trying to pick him off. Comes with a twin bolt rifle, just rapid fire 2, range 30, strength 4, -1 damage. That's not the reason for taking him, but there's a little bit of firepower available. It does have the absolver bolt pistol, Pistol 1, strength 5, -1, 2 damage, which is okay, but again, that's not the reason for taking him. You've got the Craziest Arcanum here, so +2 strength, so you've got a decent enough close combat weapon here. It's fighting at strength 6, AP -1, and then 2 damage coming through with that. Frag and crack grenades. So remember, extra attack on the charge. Looking at 5 attacks at the moment on the charge. He does have a Reserve, so 4+ invuln save. Another incentive to try and make him something decent in close combat. A lot of good things going on for him in close combat. He's already got a decent weapon. Has the invuln save, tons of wounds, and a decent weapon skill. Core units within 6 get his leadership of 9, which is alright, it helps a little bit. Turbo boost, which you already covered, and then there's special rules there for Space Wolves and Ravenwing. So I guess we'll cover listeners first. There's 2 aspects that I want to cover here. First is your options for listeners, the abilities that he grants, and also how to customize the actual model to make him pretty good. Now, again, comment section. If anyone's running one of these, the Primaries Chaplain, what is your combination? If you want to lay out your combo, and you can describe a bit of how you use him in the game and how effective he is. That'd be fascinating to hear, because there's tons of different combinations you can go for with any of the unnamed characters. You can mix up warlord traits, relics, and so on for your own combinations. But I'll run through mine and the reasons for doing that, just to give you an idea of what you can do. So first of all, I'll cover this because there's something else I want to cover here. Yeah, I'll go through this bit first. So this model knows the Litany of Hate, and one other litany. So you're going to get Litany of Hate as standard, then you get to choose one here on page 112 in your command phase. So with the bike, it's most likely going to be on the table. We found that with like deep striking chaplains, like with Jump Pack for example, they arrive and then they're limited what they could do. But there is a stratagem that can help out, but you've got to pay command points for it. But with him, he's going to be on the board most likely, and therefore in the command phase you get to use the litany. You can recite one litany it knows that's not already been recited by a friendly model this turn, and it's a 3+ for that to go off. Now these litanies are quite potent, and it's exceptionally infuriating when you don't get that 3. When you don't get that 3+, it is very, very annoying indeed. So we'll look at ways of trying to improve that, because you can't command reroll it, and so you're stuck on that 3+, 66% chance of that power going off. And there's times in the game when you really, really need that power to go off, and it doesn't, and it makes a massive difference to the battle plan. So that's a standard. Listeners of Hate, then we'll just cover that, and then we'll gradually build this up here. I'll spend a little bit of time on him just to show you what can be done. So Listening of Hate, that's your standard ability just there. If this listening is inspiring, then while a friendly chapter core unit, so for example, your troops choices there, Aggressors for example, a lot of Space Marine units are core, or chapter character unit within 6 inches of this priest, each time on that attack makes a melee attack, you can reroll the hit roll. So exceptionally useful. And the great thing is you're not choosing a unit, it's an aura bubble. So you could get 5 units that are benefiting from just that one listening going off. So as standard, that's an exceptionally helpful ability that could really enhance your army. You got a unit of Aggressors charging in. They get 8 hits, which is okay. You re-roll your misses, and it bumps up to 12 hits come through. Massive help. You've got a character going in. I guess if this goes off, he'll get it. He'll get the benefit as well. So 2s to hit with his Craziest Arcanum, re-rolling his misses. Yeah, we got some key character going in with a Thunderhammer, re-roll ability or re-rolling your hit rolls, and that's going to really help out as well. So Listening of Hate has already massive help with the chaplain. So then what we'll do now is we'll try and improve that. We'll come to these in just a moment. So you can go to here and you can pay an upgrade. There's this unnamed character, so you can upgrade into Master of Sanctity. That will cost you 25 points, but for taking that, you'll get this ability here. So Master of Sanctity, this model knows 1 additional litany, so all of a sudden you've got one litany as standard, your Litany of Hate. You get to choose another one, and now you get to choose another one. So you've got the standard one plus 2 more. So you know, doubling the number that you can choose from. In your command phase, if this model is on the battlefield, it can recite one additional litany it knows that's not already been recited by for any model that turn. So it knows an extra one and can recite an extra one. So now you've doubled what it's able to do for the cost of 25 points. So yeah, major upgrade here, which I think is a bargain. So I take that. I'm going to take that on my chaplain. Just going to make him his abilities, more and more abilities available from him, just to make the most out of this character model. So you've got it then unlocks a relic, the Emperor's Judgment, and then here the Wise Orator Warlord trait, which I may take. I take this on for my Blood Angels at the moment, the Terminator Chaplain. It's a very, very good one to take. Each time this Warlord recites a litany, add 1 to the roll, so that 3+, for it to go off becomes a 2+. Massive improvement. And each time this Warlord is selected to use the commanding oratory stratagem, that stratagem costs 1 command point instead of 2. So we'll just cover that. Yeah. Yes, that's it. Usually costs you 2. So use the stratagem at the start of your phases other than your command phase. Select one Adeptus Astartes chaplain unit from your army that's not recited a litany this turn. So for example, the chaplain's arrived on the board via Deep Strike and he's missed the command phase and hasn't recited a litany. That model can recite 1 litany that's not already been recited by for any model this turn, and it's automatically inspiring as well. And you can use it in any of your phases. So psychic phase, shooting phase, assault phase, you can pick at any point and that can go off. Yeah, so nice and flexible. Major stratagem, that one. Very, very helpful indeed. Very helpful for my Blood Angels, the chaplain deep striking down, and guaranteed to make one of those litanies go off to help units out. So these upgrades are all worth doing. If you don't go for Wise Orator, this stratagem is still available to you. It costs you 2 CP, and so what I'm thinking of doing is maybe skipping this and taking a different Warlord trait, but the +1 to see if it's inspiring. It's exceptionally good. It's the usual advice, I think, is to try and take Wise Orator here, just to make it very, very reliable, to make sure those powers go off on a 2+. And then if you want one to be guaranteed to go off, if it's that important, it's only going to cost you 1 CP, which is well worth doing. So all of that's good. Major improvements to the chaplain there. With Master of Sanctity. So, see, the other Warlord trait that I'm thinking of taking is Imperium Sword, because I'm trying to make him really good in close combat. That gives you reroll charges, pretty good with him, and +1 attack and +1 strength if he charges, heroically intervenes, or was charged. So that's me sort of leaning towards trying to make him a bit of a beast in close combat, but maybe I should stick to the primary role, which is buffs and bonuses, and then take the close combat as a bonus. Yeah, that is very good. So we've got space for a relic. Again, lots of different options. I'll show you what I go for. I'm trying to focus on making him quite good in close combat. So to do that, there is a Benediction of Fury. I'm planning to use this from Imperial Fists. So it replaces the Crozius Arcanum. It gives you, it's still +2 strength. It's fighting at strength 6. It's AP -2. I think he's -1. So it gives you a little bit more bite in close combat. And the main reason for taking it is damage 3 instead of damage 2. Quite helpful against Death Guard, Chaos Space Marines, for example. You know, -1 damage against them, or if you're coming in at damage 3, you're still going to bring down sort of regular Chaos Space Marines. Yeah, it's only AP -1 here. So I think it's worth going for that. And then when you make an attack with this weapon, a modified wound roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. A couple of 6s coming through to wound, and you're adding on some mortal wounds as well. So, I'm liking the idea of that. Yeah, just a bit more potent in close combat. It's especially helpful if I'm trying to build more of a close combat based chaplain. So that's those things there. Again, leave your own comments and suggestions, your own combo that seems to work really well. and it'd be interesting to hear what others have to say. So then we'll come back to the chaplain's abilities. Yeah. Now remember, I'm upgrading mine, so I've got 2 to pick from here, and I can manifest 2 as well. I've got my Litany of Hate, so I've got something very, very helpful in close combat. But there's others here that you can use in all different ways. So you can give 5+ feel no pain to core and character units. Pretty good. These are all pretty good. Catechism of Fire. You can select a core or character unit within 6 inches of the priest. You're limited. This is limited to 1 character or unit. Each time model that unit makes a ranged attack against the closest eligible target, it's +1 to the wound roll. It could help out aggressors, for example, with their firepower coming through. So that's an option, possibly, if you've got a lot of firepower in your army. Then Exfoliation of Rage. Again, choosing a core or character unit within 6 inches is +1 to the attack's wound roll in close combat. Again, very good. It's tough choice. It depends what you want. You know, you theme your army and what the battle plan is, and you can bring in a chaplain in different forms. It could be on a bike with a jump pack, or on foot, or in Terminator armor. You know, the options there to go for. You can slot him in to go whatever units you need to, and then you equip him to help out. So I think it's a brilliant unit to customize. Mantra of Strength is the one I'd like very much. If it's inspiring, depends if you want to use the priest aggressively here. The chaplain +1 to his attacks and strength. Brilliant. This is now up to strength 7, and an extra attack as well. So now 4 attacks base, 1 on the charge of space range, extra attack from Mantra of Strength. You're now looking at 6 attacks. All of a sudden, you've got a nice, healthy amount of attacks. Damage 3 coming through if you're taking the relics. You're really starting to stack up the bonuses here. Now, this is a question. I think he gets this. It's +1 damage to melee weapons. It doesn't say excluding relics. So could he be on damage 4? Scary stuff with that one. It's Mantra of Strength, pretty good if you're looking to make him decent enough. It only works on him, so you can't give it to another unit nearby. Recitation of Focus. It's +1 to the hit roll, again, very, very useful. And then Canticle of Hate. Now this is the one that I use for my deep striking Terminator Chaplain. So he arrives with my deep striking units, and he's there to make sure the other units, or trying to help as much as possible get those units into close combat. I've deployed over 9 inches away from enemy targets. Running them as Blood Angels, so units would get +1 anyway. But here I would play the stratagem, costs you 1 CP, guaranteed to let one of the listeners go off. It'd be this one here, Canticle of Hate. Core units and characters within 6 inches, so the chaplain comes down, my other units land within 6. I get +2 charges. I can't combine that with Blood Angel's bonus, but +2 to the charge, so you're looking at 7-inch charge instead of 9. It's a big, big bonus. It's huge, and it's not punitive of any other rule that adds to unit's charge roll. And each time on that unit makes a pile move or consolidation, it's an extra 3 inches on top of that as well. It's vital for the way I'm running my Blood Angels at the moment to take Canticle of Hate. So again, as I said before, depends on what you want to do, but sometimes the way you can look at it is you have an army list. There's an element of your army, and you think to yourself, right, I need this part of my army to be enhanced in whatever way. It could be charging into close combat, firepower, melee, whatever it is, and then you pick out a chaplain to help you fulfill that role and to help those units to enhance them as much as possible in that battlefield role that you've chosen. So maybe you've got a block of infantry units, core units and characters and so on. They're there primarily for firepower, then you pick a chaplain and then start giving out the buffs and bonuses of that. Or it's a lump of units that are designed for close combat. You take a chaplain and then just give them all those enhancements, you know, rerolling the hit rolls in close combat, +1 to the wound roll in close combat, and all of a sudden those units are getting a ton of bonuses, and it's not really costing you any points. Here, these abilities don't cost you anything in points. So I've sort of described 2 chaplains too, the one I'm using for my Blood Angels and the one I plan to use for my Imperial Fists as well. But that's number 2. By all means, if you disagree, you want to move them down a few slots or remove them from the list entirely and bring something else in at the second spot, then by all means leave that in the comment section below. And if you're new to Space Marines, or you're working on a list or not sure what units to choose, do check out the comment section, see what other Space Marine players are saying, and by all means take advice from experienced players. So that's number 2. We have the honourable mention for the Blade Guard veterans, Infiltrators for that tactical choice. Then number 4, we've gone for Aggressors, short range firepower, durable unit, decent enough in close combat as well, but they do need a bit of help, I think, with supporting characters. Then number 3 is the Redemptor Dreadnought, about one of the best vehicles you can take for Space Marines. The advantage it has is that it can fight in close combat, and it's quite potent actually with that Redemptor Fist, and you can go for Dakka firepower with it, tons of shots, or you can go for Dakka with a bit of heavy firepower as a combination. 13 wounds, tough enough unit. And then number 2 is the Primaries Chaplain, which the model's okay by himself, but then when you start stacking all the bonuses on top, then he can actually become a really, really helpful character. And then finally, number 1. I'm sure a lot of people have guessed this one already. And it's really one rule that put them at the number 1 spot. If I didn't have these in the list, I think people would have something to say. It's, where are they now? It's Eradicators. They're just, this unit needs to be fixed, I guess, by Games Workshop here. But it's the Gravis type armour with these. But these are your I guess primarily anti-vehicle, but again anti-monster characters, heavy infantry, but I guess they're the vehicle killers here with the Eradicators. There's a couple of downsides, but you can make up for these, those quite straightforward, I think. So Eradicators there, movement 5, weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+. Strength 4, toughness 5, so this is your Gravis here, so quite durable. 3 wounds each as well, which is great. 2 attacks, leadership 7, 3 up. So the only reason you're taking these is firepower. The nastiness of their weapons is quite scary. So you can take units of 3, or you can go up to units of 5, I believe. Units of 6 actually, including the sergeant. Models equipped with bolt pistol, melter rifle, frag and crack grenades. So your melter rifle is range 24, it's a decent range on this thing. Assault 1, strength 8, -4, and d6 damage. This unit becomes especially dangerous at close range. This is the idea of using these, is at close range. Each time attack is made with this weapon, the target gets unit within half range. The attack has a damage characteristic of d6 +2, so potential of between 3 to 8 damage if one of these shots gets through. And you're looking at strength 8, so good strength, 8 -4, so it's going to cut straight through armor unless there's an invuln save of some kind. All the models in this unit can have their melter rifle replaced with 1 heavy melter rifle each. Yep, and there's the option to go for a multi-melter as well. So for every 3 models in the unit, 1 Eradicator's melter rifle or heavy melter rifle can be replaced with 1 multi-melter, so you can take a multi-melter as well. But the heavy melter rifle, the downside is it's heavy, so if you're moving, there is the -1 to the hit rolls, so you're sort of dropping down to 4s to hit. The upside is that it's damage of d6 +2 at normal range, range 24, and if you get to within half range, if you can ambush a target, it's d6 +4 damage. So potential, 1 shot could pop a rhino if you rolled a 6. Whew, scary stuff. Terrifying. The damage is terrifying, and I guess it's Eradicators has been one of the reasons why vehicles aren't as popular in 40k at the moment, with these things floating around. Melter weaponry's always been anti-vehicle, always dangerous, and it's gone up and down in danger down through the different editions. Remember back in 7th edition it was deadly, the fusion blasters for the tower was scary enough. And then when they went to d6 damage, they were okay, and then you're choosing the best result at half range, but now this sort of locked in ability here, guaranteed +4 damage, that's the terrifying part here. So the downside is you take heavy melter rifles, unit of 3 shots, bit of a problem. So, you know, help of any kind from getting the ability to reroll ones or reroll the hit rolls makes them much more efficient. But the rule here that sealed the deal on these is total obliteration. In your shooting phase, each time this unit is selected to shoot, if it's not advanced this turn, it can unleash total obliteration. If it does, select one enemy unit. Models in this unit can shoot twice this phase, but can only target or make attacks that target that enemy unit, and only if the enemy unit is an eligible target for those attacks. Now, yeah, it's the great thing with this, which makes them very dangerous, is that in the rules here they've said that you can select an enemy unit. It doesn't have to be the closest enemy unit, and that's huge. If the opponent knows that, they'll just put blocking units out and stop you from going after this stuff. But at range 24, and the ability to pick on any target you want, just the usual rules, obviously not characters and so on, that are hidden. But the opponent might have screening units, but if you get to range 24, you can fire over that and reach the heavier targets to try and bring them down. You know, and heavy melter rifles are dangerous at long range, d6 plus 2 damage. So unit of 3 shots, but then you get another 3 shots. And so combine that with some buffs and bonuses, it's a terrifying unit. Eradicator squads are scary. Nice models, decent concept from Games Workshop, look fantastic. And now you've got a specialised anti-vehicle squad that's maybe shaped the whole game of 40k with their terrifying firepower. People just dropping vehicles from their lists when they're up against Eradicators. It's that scary at the moment from them. So ways to use them then. They're an absolute bullet magnet. If the opponent can try and kill them, they will. And so sticking them in the middle of your battle line, the opponent's just going to try and blow them away as early as possible. So trying to hide them and to bring them out at the right point, it's essential. It's transportation, we've had this discussion. I think they're limited with what they can do. They obviously can't go in Land Raiders. I'm just going to see, this is the problem. This is where things get a bit expensive as well. If you start saying, well, I need to put in a transport vehicle, you then go to a Primaries transport vehicle and it's going to cost you a crazy amount of points on top of that. Yeah, the repulsor, you can take Gravis. It costs you the space of 2 models to do it, but your Gravis can go inside the repulsor. But then to do that, you've got to purchase a repulsor, so you need to factor that into your list with that model. So to get an anti-tank unit, you've got to take a tank to try and move them around. Because I really don't think is it the Impulsor? Yeah, it can't transport Gravis. So you can't stick, that would have been a great combination to go for, a cheaper option to move them around the board. Nice and quick as well, movement 14, but you can't put them in there. The other option is to put them into strategic reserves and then bring them on turn 2 onwards on a flank, for example, and try and use them that way. So at least they turn up and can unleash at least 1 round of firepower. So you could play them that way, which is possibly an option that I'm going to go for. I do plan to run a unit of these in my Imperial Fist army as part of my anti-tank unit options. So that's Eradicators. That's the number 1 slot, as the one reason is their anti-tank ability, anti-character and anti-monster as well, but primarily they're tank hunters, and they can do that very, very well indeed. The main rule that sealed the deal on those, just to turn them from okay to excellent, is the total obliteration rule. Scary stuff, may well be updated perhaps to re-rolling hit rolls or something like that, but it's double shooting against a chosen target with them. So Eradicator squad takes the number 1 slot. So that's the top 5. Then honourable mention to Blade Guard veterans, then Infiltrators for their tactical choice, Aggressors, Redemptor Dreadnought, the Primaries Chaplain, which you can customise, and then at number 1 spot is Eradicators. By all means, leave your own comments and suggestions. Maybe you totally disagree with my list, you want to change the order of it around, or you want to introduce some other units. Maybe it's a character unit with some buffs and bonuses and abilities stacked on top that makes them much better, and one that I've overlooked and you want to bring them into the list. Maybe you agree with the list that I've given, then leave all of that in the comments section below. But that is my top 5 units for Space Marines. Plan to make more of these videos. Plan to make some more for Adeptus Mechanicus, Blood Angels, so keep a lookout for them on the channel. And then you can combine these with my complete army videos to show you different lists that I have. I have the units all laid out and the whole structure of different armies. But that's the top 5, the Space Marines. Keep a lookout for more videos in this series. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.